Once again, storyteller Brendyn Schneider. Give it up for Brendyn, the man in the monkey suit.
Hello. Hey. So yeah, my name is Brendyn Schneider. I'm a writer and a storyteller. Thank you, thank you. If you guys like me here tonight, please let me know. I'd love to give you the URL to my website. For those of you coming in just now, grab a drink at the bar. Once again, for the duet Jameson, right? Yeah. Yeah, it was really good.
Jameson sucks.
Wow, one guy. Those guys were fantastic.
One guy equals one duet.
Alright, so this is a story about my grandfather. The '87 Lincoln pulled up to the curb, slowly, cautiously. My grandfather sat next to me in front of the garage, shaking his head. Ah, Christ. Here we go. And the driver's side window rolled down. Hey! Hiya, Eddie. Yep. What do you say, Ed? When I was 12 years old, everyone was named Ed. I was once painting the main room of my grandfather's VFW with my older brother when he turned to me and said, "Hey, Brent, you're the only guy in here not named Ed." And he was right. My brother, my father, my grandfather, and his two best friends, all Ed. Brendyn wasn't Ed. It wasn't even close. And when you're 12 years old, the last thing you want is to be different. My grandfather and I watched his friend pull back and forth against the curb. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in a painstaking search for the perfect parallel park. My grandfather leaned down to me and he said, "Now remember, Herkins can't hear out of his left ear, so you gotta talk on the right side, loud." Bet you $5 he starts talking about the goddamn peas. The guy gets up at dawn, uses up 10 miles worth of gas just to save a nickel on a can of beets. That jerk. I grew up thinking that my grandfather hated his friends. They were jerks, idiots, shitheads, morons. Yet these morons never failed to visit him. But then again, maybe that's why he hated them so much. They never failed to visit. They were there every day. And he didn't have a choice, really. I mean, with 2 hip replacements and no driver's license, mobility didn't play a very central role in his life. I mean, he walked, but it was with a cane, so it was slow. So if they came over, he couldn't get away. Herkins finally gets out of his car and starts walking down the driveway. My grandfather says, "Ah, Christ. Hey, Eddie, I was just over at ShopRite." "You don't say." And then Herkins sees me. "Hey! Hey, Mr. Herkins, how you doing?" "Who's this, Ed? Your grandson, Edward?" No, I'm Brendyn." "What'd he say?" "I told you, the right side. Grandpa, his right or mine?" "Edward and Grandma aren't here, Ed. This is the middle guy, Brendyn." "Oh, all right. Well, how are you, Brian?" I'm fine, Mr. Herkins. How you doing?" "How am I doing?" Old people like to repeat the last thing they heard if they're upset about something. You ever notice that? "The ball game got canceled. I can't eat potatoes. No senior discount." "How am I doing?" "I'll tell you how I'm doing. That goddamn ShopRite. You should see the prices they're asking for lima beans. What a racket they got going on down there." "Oh yeah, Ed? Worse than the peas?" "Worse than the peas? Eddie, I gotta drive all the way out to East Meadow just to save a couple dollars." "Oh, you shake your head, but you gotta watch these people. That's right. They'll spit you right in the eye and stab you right in the back, and don't think they won't. Shop right, shop wrong." Herkins was once at his doctor's office, and the conversation turned to the alarm clock on his bedside table. Now, this is the old school kind of clock where the hands and the numbers glow in the dark. Herkins heard someplace that the reason why they glow is because they emit radiation beams. Hey, Doc, is that true? It is, Ed, but it's not enough to do you any harm. Don't worry about it. Herkins did worry. With this confirmation, this professional confirmation, the clock was going to have to go. I mean, he wanted this radiation machine as far away from him as possible. So he drove home, walked into his house, walked down the hall, and... well, the clock did work, right? I mean, he didn't necessarily have to go buy a new one, because let's face it, good clocks cost money. Still, something had to be done. It was a radiation machine. So he walked into his room, and he took the clock, and he moved it to his wife's side of the bed. In 89 Bonneville rumbled to a rest behind Herkins' car. Ed Goldberg got out and started down the driveway. What do you say, Ed? Hey, how are you, Eddie? Hey, who's there with you, Josephine? Josephine is my grandma. Goldberg's glasses were always thick and really dirty. Oh, it's your grandson. Oh, and Herkins too. Oh, Jesus. When the hell are you going to get those goddamn eyes fixed, Goldberg? Now, my grandfather had good reason to be concerned about his friend and his eyes. One night, about a year before, they're all spilling out of the VFW hall. End of the meeting, right? And my grandfather decides he wants to walk home. It's only a block away. But as he steps from the curb, Goldberg backs into him with his car, knocking my grandfather down onto the street. Eddie, Jesus, I didn't even see you. Of course he didn't see me, you goddamn jerk. Where the hell are your glasses?
What up, Mom?
I thought it was fun. So that's why he was upset with the whole glasses thing. But meanwhile, in front of the garage, Goldberg starts waving his hands. I mean, he had big news. Eddie. You know who passed away? What's that, Ed? I said, you know who passed away? You're going to be the last to pray? Oh, for Christ's sake, will you shut up? I'll tell you who passed away. Lou Garner. That's right, the commander of Malvern's American Legion. It happened yesterday. Yeah, well, good. Goddamn pain in the ass. Now, I knew who Lou Garner was. One night, my dad and I dropped in on one of my grandfather's lodge meetings. And there weren't any Betty Page movies going, like I figured, on the car ride over. It really was just a bunch of old men hanging around. But one of them was this guy, Lou. And as soon as we got there, he rushed up to me. He was really excited. You're Ed Schneider's grandson! And it wasn't a question. He declared it. Yes, sir. Yes, I am. I am Ed Schneider's grandson. You're the guy that works in the fishing boat. Hey, how's the fluke fishing going right now? Still low? Wow. Fluke. I have no idea. Oh, you're confusing me with Ed, my older brother. Yeah, he works on the boat. Oh, he's not here? No, he's not here. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, but you're the trumpet player. You're the trumpet player? Yeah, you playing those marching bands and all those band competitions? You betcha. No, that's Ed too. That's Ed too. So what do you do? I don't know. What do I do? What did I do? What do you do at 12? Right? I mean, I was confused by pretty girls and loud old men.
Oh, no.
Well, Lou, I write. Yeah, I want to be a writer. A writer? A writer? And then Lou turned to the group of guys next to him and said, all right, let's get the cards.
Segway.
My grandmother came out onto the driveway and handed us all sodas. Then she turned to my grandfather and said, well, that's it. Ron Gilman's going to have to find his own way down to Atlantic City from now on. The ladies' auxiliary just voted him off the bus. 42 years old. He ought to be ashamed of himself. What happened, Grandma? What happened? Huh. Ron Gilman's the young fellow who takes the bus down with us to Atlantic City, Brendyn. He's in charge of the movies. And you know what? They're usually pretty good.
Well, this past Tuesday, when we were coming back, he put on an X-rated movie.
Right on. Woo! Downtown.
Think of it. 40 old people on a Greyhound just south of Perth Amboy. Their eyelids are heavy. The closing credits to On Golden Pond are just wrapping up. And the air is hot and stagnant.
So good.
And there's a faint aroma of Bengay floating just above the surface. Ron Gilman, completely ripped over the life choices that have brought him to that bus, decides to become an historical fact. Grandma, that's awesome. It's not awesome. It's not awesome. We don't need to see that. We're old. I get to thinking about my own friends. You know? I wonder whose garage we're going to be sitting in front of when we're in our 70s. We'll stop and shop, be cheating people out of cans of peas. Who's going to hit who with this car? Who's going to get insulted when Ron Gilman's son throws on a porno? I do know that history likes to repeat itself. So if we're anything like my grandfather and his friends, I'm looking forward to that new first name majority. My name is Brendyn Schneider. Thank you very much.